The dream narrator spills the tea on a future conflict where humanity's champions rise from a ruined world. It sounds like a classic hero's journey setup, with our protagonists battling overwhelming odds to find hope. No pressure, but the fate of the world is literally on their shoulders from the jump. Kazer wakes up from the intense dream and is immediately thrown into the action. His crew, Glimmer, is planning something big for the Emperor's parade, acting like real revolutionaries. They are moving low-key because the guards are everywhere. The tension is real, and it feels like they are about to risk it all. The team dynamic is getting spicy. Glimmer is teaming up with an archaeologist named Gethia, which is a wild crossover event. Apparently, she is not your typical academic and has her own beef with the Empire. She even brought a gifted one named Zanna to the party, who sounds like a total powerhouse. The crew runs into some Imperial goons shaking down a kid for protection money, and the vibe immediately gets hostile. Kazer is ready to throw down, but Celine steps in with some kind of taser gadget and handles it herself. It's a quick showcase of how messed up the Empire is. We meet Hogan, who has given himself the codename Fire Dragon, and everyone agrees that it's a bit much. He's the intel guy for Glimmer, their little resistance group. He spills some gossip about the Empire doing shady stuff underground, setting up more mystery for later in the plot. The mission plan is officially wild. They are splitting into 2 teams to cause maximum chaos during the festival. Zanna is going to make a scene at the Emperor's float, while Kazer and his sister Louisa have to set off special fireworks. This whole operation sounds incredibly risky, but they are all in. Zanna and Kazer have a little heart-to-heart, and the energy is intense. She questions his motives, and he explains that standing up is the only real choice they have. It is a moment of real talk before the mission, highlighting the high stakes and their shared fight for freedom against an oppressive regime. Luisa and Kazer are having a sibling chat, and she brings up how scary Zanna seems. Kazer admits that while he could probably win in a physical fight, her gifted powers are on another level. This little conversation builds up the mystique around what being a gifted one actually means. The plan to reach the city wall gets complicated, forcing Kazer and Luisa to split up. Luisa takes on the role of the tech expert, hacking doors and elevators from a command center. She's proving she is not just a sidekick, handling her part of the mission, while Kazer deals with the guards. After reuniting, Kazer and Luisa get to work assembling the massive firework launcher. Hogan was not kidding about how heavy this thing is. They have to carefully place it, fill it with gunpowder, and add Hogan's special mix. The anticipation for the big moment is building up with every step. The parade is in full swing, but then everything goes sideways. A massive meteor crashes down, and chaos erupts. This was definitely not part of Glimmer's plan. The mission is officially a failure, and now everyone is caught in the middle of a much bigger, more terrifying event than they ever imagined. Kazer wakes up in a completely different place, realizing he is in the underground bunker Hogan mentioned. He is completely separated from Louisa and the others, and his immediate priority is finding a way back to the surface. The situation has gone from a political protest to a full-blown survival scenario. As Kazer explores the bunker, he discovers these bizarre crystals and creatures he has never seen before. The whole place is a secret lab, and it is clear the Empire was cooking up something seriously strange down here. The mystery deepens as he tries to figure out what is going on. A mysterious voice starts talking to Kazer, guiding him through the collapsing bunker. It tells him to overload an energy chamber to escape. With no other options, Kazer has to trust this unknown entity, adding another layer of intrigue and suspense to his desperate escape from the underground lab. The voice reveals itself as a powerful being that wants to grant Kazer power so they can escape together. This entity, later known as Arena, claims Kazer is the first human in a millennium to hear its call. Kazer is understandably hesitant, but agrees to embrace the power to survive the situation. After merging with Arena, Kazer feels a surge of new power. Arena is a bit of a diva, bragging about how this is just a fraction of its true strength. This new partnership is a classic reluctant allies trope, with Kazer as the human vessel and Arena as the ancient, powerful being inside him. Kazer finally makes it back to the surface, only to find the city in absolute ruins and overrun by monsters, which Arena calls voids. His main goal is to find his sister, Louisa, fearing the worst. The entire city has become a war zone, and the stakes are now higher than ever. Kazer spots Louisa in the distance, but she is surrounded by danger in the central plaza. He has to fight his way through more voids and destroy the strange crystals that have appeared all over the city. It is a race against time to reach her before something terrible happens to her. In a heartbreaking moment, Kazer reaches Louisa just as a giant void creature appears and drains her soul, leaving her in a coma. He is completely powerless to stop it, and the loss is devastating. This event becomes the driving force for his entire journey, shifting his goal from protest to rescue. Just as Kazer is losing all hope, Arena reveals that Luisa can still be saved. Her soul was not eaten, but collected by the voids and stored at their fortress. This gives Kazer a new mission: find the void's fortress and retrieve his sister's soul, no matter the cost. Selene and the rest of Glimmer pledge to help Kazer on his new quest. Githea, the archaeologist, reveals that according to legend, the Voids were defeated thousands of years ago at a place called Mount Salvation. This becomes their next destination, a place of ancient history and immense danger. Before leaving, Kazer has a touching moment with a young boy whose uncle also had his soul taken. Kazer promises the boy that he will bring everyone back, reinforcing his commitment. It is a quiet, emotional scene that grounds his epic quest in a very human, personal promise to heal his community. Upon arriving at Mount Salvation, Kazer and Arena meet a quirky girl named Liana, who claims to be a tourist registration agent. Things get even weirder when it turns out that Arena and Liana know each other. Liana reveals her mother lives at the top of the mountain and might have answers. Liana explains that the path to the mountaintop is blocked by the Four Lords, who have been corrupted by the Void's energy. This sets up a series of boss battles for Kazer. He must defeat each of the Four Lords to cleanse them of the corruption and clear the way to the summit. After a tough fight, Kazer defeats the First Lord, Golden Lion, and frees him from the corruption. Golden Lion reveals that a being named Aramon, who was imprisoned long ago, is behind the corruption. This is the first mention of the story's true main antagonist, raising the stakes even higher. Next up is Rose Queen, the Second Lord. After another intense battle, she is also freed from Eremon's control. She provides more lore about the ancient battle of Mount Salvation, where they sealed the Voids away to protect something called the Life Nexus, which is likely connected to the stolen souls. Kazer faces the Third Lord, White Cloud, who is cranky about being woken up. The fight is challenging, but once cleansed, White Cloud confirms that Aramon is breaking the seal. He expresses deep concern for someone named Solaria, who has been guarding the seal alone for thousands of years. The final Lord, Bakhorn, stands in their way. After being defeated, he recognizes Arena and reveals that Solaria, the one guarding the seal, is mortal and her power is weakening. He explains that Aramon is using the stolen human souls to hasten the seal's breakdown and orchestrate his return. Kazer finally meets Solaria, who turns out to be an old friend of Arena's. She explains that the stolen souls are stored in soul crystal fragments hidden in alternate dimensions. Kazer, being bonded with Arena, is the only one who can enter these dimensions to retrieve the fragments and stop Aramon. Inside the first alternate dimension, the Chronocore, Kazer is taunted by a phantom of Aramon. The main villain finally makes an appearance, revealing his plan to reclaim the world and mocking Arena for siding with humans. The final conflict is officially set in motion as Kazer begins his hunt for the fragments. After navigating the dimension and defeating its guardian, Kazer secures the first soul crystal fragment. However, Solaria informs him that this is just one of 5. She reveals the locations of the other dimensions: Sky Lake, Maple Forest, Snow Plains, and the Land of Fire, setting up the next act of the journey. Back at the harbor, Gethia uses a book to pinpoint the location of the next alternate dimension. She deduces that the Sky Lake Solaria mentioned is likely Sky Mirror Lake, a place known for producing many gifted ones. The crew now has a clear destination for their next mission. Meanwhile, the Holy Knights, led by Victor and Vesper, report to the Emperor. They are tasked with hunting down the rebels from Glimmer, who are being blamed for the monster attack. This subplot adds a political threat to the supernatural one, as the Empire is now actively hunting Kazer and his friends. At Skyrest Badlands, the crew is ambushed by Victor and the Holy Order. A battle ensues, and Arena senses that Victor is being manipulated by Aramon, just like the Four Lords were. This shows that Aramon's influence is spreading beyond Mount Salvation and into the heart of the Empire itself. Gethia reveals her tragic backstory. Her father was an Imperial archaeologist who was imprisoned and died for trying to expose the forbidden history of the Voids. This is her personal motivation for rebelling against the Empire, adding emotional weight to her role in the group's fight for justice and truth. Kazer has a rematch with the Void creature that took Luisa's soul. Fueled by rage and a desire for revenge, he fights relentlessly. This time, he is stronger and manages to defeat the monster, a cathartic moment that marks a significant step in his personal journey and growth as a hero. The crew runs into Vesper, the vice commander of the Holy Knights, who is also corrupted by Eremon's energy. He is far more aggressive than Victor and attacks the party. This encounter confirms that the corruption is spreading through the Empire's highest ranks, making them an unpredictable and dangerous foe. The guardian of the second alternate dimension is revealed to be the Buckhorn Spirit Dragon, a massive, majestic creature that has also been corrupted by Aramon. To proceed, Kazer must fight and cleanse the Guardian, a recurring theme that tests his strength and resolve before he can even enter the dimension. Inside the Aeroflux dimension, Kazer faces more of Aramon's taunts and complex mechanisms. The villain reveals his philosophy that humanity is flawed and undeserving of the planet. The conflict becomes not just about saving souls, but also about proving humanity's worth against a nihilistic, powerful foe. After Kazer retrieves the second fragment, the story cuts to Celine being interrogated by Vesper. He threatens her and a child to get information on Kazer's whereabouts. The scene is tense and shows how ruthless the corrupted parts of the Empire have become, turning them into straight-up villains in the conflict. The Emperor, Highcastle, makes a shocking appearance and summons Kazer for a meeting. It is a major plot twist that the leader of the Empire wants to talk to the most wanted rebel. This sets up a high-stakes confrontation that could change the entire dynamic of the war against the Voids. Highcastle reveals the entire secret history of the Voids. He was there during the Ancient War and imprisoned Arena in the underground lab, not to harm him, but to study his energy. His goal is to empower all of humanity to fight the Voids, but his methods are extreme and morally gray. The Emperor proposes an alliance, offering to help Kazer find the remaining alternate dimensions. He argues that his vision for a strong, unified humanity is better than Solaria's isolationism. Kazer and Arena are suspicious, but they are forced to consider the offer, creating a very fragile and tense truce. The next destination is Mistwood, which Zanna identifies as the Maple Forest. This is her old training ground, and she worries her former master and peers may have been corrupted by the Dimension's energy. This leg of the journey becomes deeply personal for her, forcing her to confront her past. At Redbeat Village, the chief confirms that Master Neverwind and his disciples at the monastery have been corrupted. He believes that if Kazer can cleanse the Master, he will reveal the secret of the alternate dimension, setting up another series of cleansing battles against powerful, gifted warriors. Kazer confronts a corrupted Zanna, who is more powerful and ruthless than ever. The fight is personal and intense, as he has to subdue his own teammate without seriously hurting her. It is a major test of his control and strength, pushing him to his limits to save a friend from the darkness. Inside the Lithonics dimension, Aramon taunts Kazer again, this time threatening Luisa's soul directly. This makes the fight deeply personal for Kazer, who is now fighting not just for humanity, but for the very soul of his sister. The villain's psychological warfare adds another layer of pressure to the mission. Back at the harbor, the situation escalates. Vesper, fully consumed by corruption, attempts to kill Celine and the child hostage. Victor intervenes, showing his own internal conflict, but the Emperor arrives and executes Vesper for his insubordination, demonstrating his absolute and terrifying authority. With only 2 fragments left, Zanna reveals that the Snow Plains dimension is likely in her homeland, Frosttold, a kingdom thought to be destroyed. In a shocking twist, she reveals she is the princess of Frosttold and her father is the king, making the next part of the quest intensely personal for her as well. At the border of Frosttold, the crew meets Drogo, Zanna's old mentor and commander of the Snow Guardians. He challenges Kazer to prove his worth before allowing them to pass. This leads to an honorable duel that ends with Drogo sacrificing himself to deactivate the kingdom's protective storm wall for them. Zanna and Kazer share a vulnerable moment over drinks, bonding over their shared losses and the immense pressure they are under. Zanna reflects on leaving her home and her father, while Kazer mourns for Louisa. It is a quiet, character-driven scene that strengthens their friendship before the final challenges. Zanna is finally reunited with her father, the king, only to find he has been corrupted and is now a puppet for Aramon. The villain speaks through him, gloating that they are too late. This is a devastating blow for Zanna, who must now watch Kazer fight a twisted version of her own father. The Entropus dimension in Frosttold is collapsing and merging with reality, a sign that the seal is critically weak. The old king's overuse of its power has caused a catastrophic breach. This raises the urgency to an all-time high, as they must secure the fragment before reality itself unravels. After securing the 4th fragment, Eremon appears and reveals a chilling truth. He does not have enough souls to break the seal yet. However, the seal is weakening so much on its own that his return is inevitable. It is a moment of despair, realizing their victories have only been delaying the unavoidable. Victor meets the crew with a final shocking revelation. The last alternate dimension is located inside the Emperor's palace. Highcastle invites them there for the final confrontation. It becomes clear that the Emperor has been manipulating events all along, and this is a carefully laid trap for everyone involved. After Kazer retrieves the final fragment, Highcastle reveals his true plan. He demands the fragments, threatening to kill all of Glimmer and Louisa if Kazer refuses. His goal is to absorb all the power and become a godlike being to defeat Aramon himself, showing his true colors as a ruthless tyrant. Just as Kazer is forced to hand over the fragments, Zanna, Gethia, and the rest of his allies arrive to back him up. A massive battle breaks out in the palace between Glimmer and the Imperial forces. It is the culmination of their rebellion, a final, desperate fight against the Emperor's tyranny. With the help of his friends, Kazer defeats Highcastle. As the Emperor dies, he is absorbed by a shadowy figure, revealing that Aramon was manipulating him all along. The true villain played everyone against each other perfectly and now stands ready for the final battle at Mount Salvation. In a final act of sacrifice, Solaria decides to bestow all of her power, along with the power of the 4 lords, onto Kazer. This will kill her, but give him the strength needed to face Aramon. It is a deeply emotional moment, as her daughter Liana must accept her mother's decision for the greater good. At the peak of Mount Salvation, with all his allies fighting the Void army below, Kazer confronts Aramon. The villain reveals he orchestrated everything, from manipulating Highcastle to luring Kazer into gathering the Soul Crystal for him. The final battle for the fate of the world begins now. After a grueling, epic battle, Kazer, empowered by Solaria and his bond with Arena, finally defeats Aramon. The villain is vanquished, and his threat is ended once and for all. The long and difficult journey has reached its climax, with the heroes emerging victorious against impossible odds. With the complete Soul Crystal, the stolen souls are released. Louisa and all the other victims finally wake up from their comas, healed and whole again. It is a joyous and emotional reunion for Kazer and his sister, the moment he has been fighting for throughout the entire story. In the aftermath, the world begins to heal. Victor becomes the acting emperor, working with Celine to create a more equal and just society. With the conflict over, Arena announces he is leaving, as voids belong to the universe. He and Kazer share a heartfelt goodbye, now as true friends.